From the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery in Nashville, Tennessee, it's Gardening Inside Out, a podcast with highlights from our Saturday morning live show, answering all your gardening questions, giving you plant advice for any space in your life. Let's start the show.
Hey y'all, Caroline Gant.
And hey, it's Austin Lowen.
And Tyler Blankenship joining you again this week.
We're all here.
Yes, we are. Mm-hmm. You know what? We need to talk about something that happened on the show.
Okay.
I was talking about a mimosa tree.
I know where this is going.
Yes, you do.
Uh-huh.
I love that I'm not involved,
And
but I'm here for it.
every single person in the room, other than Tyler during the broadcast, treated me like I had no idea how trees grew or how to measure them.
That is not true. That's dramatic. We've seen, look, this is what happened. Caroline lost her mimosa from the top, and it only came back from the ground. And she said it grew up to be like
9 feet.
9 feet tall in a season. And we thought that was kind of crazy, okay?
And then I took a picture. And you know what? It's at least 12 feet in a season.
I am actually, yes. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Because that is a massive mimosa from the ground. I'm amazed at the growth.
Yes, it happened.
Even though I
pretty much-
shouldn't be amazed at the growth. Those things are nuts.
They're crazy.
You predicted the future when you said you were going to be asking for everybody's apologies.
And here we are.
Well, I did it. You're right. Mimosa's 12 feet tall.
Mimosa, 12 feet tall. It goes to show how fast they grow. Though they're invasive, they're beautiful, and I absolutely love them.
Yeah, I love them too.
So we did talk about pruning mimosas. We talked about pruning a couple different things, I believe.
It's almost time to get in the pruning season. We're almost in dormancy here. Things are changing. Leaves are changing. Once leaves fall off of trees, that's when we're going to prune them typically. So we kind of talked about that.
Yeah, hillsides are starting to go. It's starting to get real pretty fall color out here, y'all.
It is.
Chilly, too.
You know what? I got to say something.
What?
Dogwoods are so well known for their flowering in the spring, which I get it. They're beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful trees. But they are shaping up to be some of the best fall colored trees in our forest.
Yes, I was looking at one actually yesterday, and it has like this dark red. I don't know. It's unlike any other color.
It is. It's like burgundy red. It's like both.
And it sits like that for a while, too. It doesn't just like turn like that and quickly brown and then all the leaves fall off.
No, not at all. Like it persists on there for a long time.
They're a great, great tree to have.
They really are. They're really slow to take, though. When you buy one and you set them out, it's like
A long time.
You
I've had
gotta
some in
wait.
the ground for years. And they leaf out, they flower every year, but I feel like they don't get any bigger. They've been planted for about 4 years.
it
Hey,
takes them a
Tyler.
while.
Hey,
What are you doing over there?
I'm just listening, but I think solely because of the fall color and because I love seeing the understory of blooms in the spring, dogwood is all right in my book. But honestly, as far as me growing it, it's not my cup of tea. And I actually love for native fall color, sumac.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
That is a red that I could live with for a long time.
yeah. We have some tiger eyes sumac we actually brought into the show this last week, and their fall color was stunning. I mean, the reds Tyler's talking about for sure, but the oranges that light up with it too.
Yeah, that one's more yellow orange
it's-
red,
yeah, it's-
not
That
as
one's
thoroughly
neon.
red. Yeah.
Tiger eyes sumac. That's certainly a plant you ought to think about growing. I love it.
Yeah.
When we actually took the plants out of the green room, the leaves were strewn all about the floor, and they look like Japanese maple leaves,
Yeah.
honestly, if you just see them individually.
They also look
Like
fake
lacy.
because the color is so vibrant.
Yeah, it kind of stays on, too. I'm looking at one right now on the table over there next to Austin, and bam, I mean, it's still there.
Yeah. You know, we had like
Put that in your scrapbooks.
yeah, we had like 10 of those that day, and like 8 of them sold.
Yeah, as
because
soon as
of
we
their
brought
fall
them back
color.
out of the green room after the broadcast, they were gone.
They were gone.
They were snatched on up. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you know what I just did?
What?
Tore out my summer blooming vinca, and I planted pansies.
Oh, yeah, you showed me a photo of that.
Oh, I love it.
I got to get my pansies in the ground. Got mine on Sunday, maybe Saturday. Haven't planted them yet. Friday might be my day to get them in there.
Have fun digging. I tell you, it was hard on me. It was hard on me. I broke my trowel.
You must have some hard
I
dirt.
planted one pansy. I had 24 pansies to plant. I planted one, and my trowel broke.
So what did you use after that? A butter knife?
Oh, I used some stupid tool that's not really for that, but I had to use it. It's like this weird thing. It's like a, I don't know, half axe, half like pokey tip thing.
A pokey tip
I don't
thing
know what it
seems
is.
like it would work.
It's an odd tool.
But at
Well,
least you
I'm
got them
right
in the ground.
confused.
They're in the ground. They're in the ground, watered up. They're looking money.
Y'all are thinking about the future, and I'm over here still looking at my Mandevilla blooming and happy in its little pot.
It's still going.
I'm in denial of
well,
what's to come.
It's coming. It's coming on fast.
If you don't plan for the future with pansies, then you miss the boat.
I'm almost missed the boat, but I don't think I have. But you listeners out there, make sure you tune into our video broadcast. I'm sure Austin will send Tyler a photo of his pansies so you can see them in all their glory underneath his ginkgo. But let's go ahead and get into our broadcast from Saturday, October 14th.
Have fun.
So, without further ado, Caroline,
Hello.
I bet we have questions.
Oh, we do have questions. We've got a lot of questions about winter weather coming, about overwintering different things. So let's start there. Our first
I wonder
question.
why people would be worried about that.
Yeah, there's no telling why they'd be worried about that. I mean, nothing big happened last winter.
Oh,
Just
no.
kidding. Actually, I went to a car dealership, bought a truck yesterday, which is exciting. And at the dealership, they all knew Austin, of course, but they said they listened to his advice about the deep freeze. They said all their shrubs were dead. People around town were like, listen to Austin at Bates Nursery. He says not to pull them out yet. And you know what? He was right. All their laurels came back. So good advice right there.
All right.
But let's talk about elderberry. Do I need to prep my black lace elderberry for winter?
Prep it. No.
No.
It's a hardy plant.
Yeah, it's good to go. I mean, the black lace is a relatively new cultivar in the terms of how long elderberry has been around on this planet. But it's perfectly capable of going to dormancy. And if you had some kind of pest on it that you saw, maybe you can put some dormant oil on it once the leaves have fallen off. Get the leaves out of there, but. As long as it's in the ground, you should be good.
Oh, yeah. I don't see any problem with elderberry. Good Lord. I've got
beast.
wild elderberry at my house. I have to weed eat it. 'Cause
Yeah, me too.
It just is annoying. It's
Yeah.
huge. So if you're elderberry, the only thing I would say is that if it's gotten too large and too leggy, then give it a nice cutback. You can cut that thing in half or even more if you needed to. But no, there's no prep really needed for elderberry.
No winter prep for that one. Sounds tough. We have a question about indoor plants. Someone's asking how to overwinter cactus when you bring it in for the winter. You have a couple options with cactus. I mean, obviously, they all like to grow in full sun, so giving them as much light. So if you've got a window, preferably a southwest facing window, you'll want to put that cactus there. Cut back on the watering, just water it once the soil sits dry for quite a while. I let mine sit dry for at least a week or a couple weeks with my cactus that are in sun. Now, I have so many cacti that I don't have room for all of them, and I don't use a ton of grow lights. So what I found over the years of bringing them indoors, especially with my euphorbia type cactus, is I'll actually put them in a dark corner. I mean, they're still getting some light coming through the windows. They're not necessarily getting any direct sunlight, and I just let them pretty much go dormant. They look fine. I'm not trying to get them to grow at all. I do not fertilize them, and some of them I don't even water once in the winter. With cactus, they'll start to kind of get smaller and shrivel up a little bit, and then you can tell it's time you really need to water. So I'll look for that. If that happens, I will water it. But a dark corner, I mean, they look great. They decorate your house, and it's zero maintenance for them in the winter if you do decide to go that way. And I've had great luck with that for like the last 10 years of bringing
that's
my
the
cactus
most difficult
indoors.
thing for people to do is to
Leave 'em
simply
alone.
bring the cactus in
Yeah.
and leave them alone.
Yeah.
Just don't do anything. If they feel like, well, I need to do something. Yes, leave them alone.
Leave
That's just
them
something you
alone.
need to do. Just let them dry. And just as you said, they can become a little shriveled looking as they desiccate. They have the ability to store so much moisture within the stems and leaves of the cacti itself that it takes it quite a long time, particularly in less than optimal conditions, which is what indoors is. It might be plenty warm, but certainly it's not that much light going on. So the best thing to do for them is just forget about them.
Forget about them. Put them in a corner and forget. Customers are always shocked when I do tell them that. And I actually mentioned sometimes that I have a Peruvian apple cactus. I actually have a lot that they're all cuttings from a mother cactus. But I have one that's so big that it's been sitting in the corner of my bedroom, which only has a north-facing window, for 2 years now, and I've watered it twice. It hasn't grown at all, but it still looks fantastic. Now, I'm not saying you should do that. I just have not ever moved it outside because it's so big. And I'm kind of seeing what'll happen. But at this point, I mean, it's still got its color. It looks great, and it hasn't grown at all. So you could go that route. I'm not suggesting you do that, but that just goes to show how much they can take. You think that they need full sun, and they do need full sun to grow and be healthy, but let them go to sleep for a little bit in the winter.
Cacti is amazing to me, that how heavy it is. It's incredible.
Like physically heavy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean
I guess
like
not
heavy. What do you mean, like
emotionally heavy?
emotionally? Yeah, no, they're not all that heavy emotionally. They're pretty chill, but they're so heavy. Like when you get a big one, like Caroline's talking about, like that, the weight of that is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, my go-to with my cacti is, before I bring them in the wintertime, is just soak them deeply outside, let them drain thoroughly, bring them in the house for the winter, and never water them.
Yep.
Not once.
Just let them sit
Just
there.
soak them and then bring them in.
I'm going to take a video of me moving mine inside.
You're saying that they're heavy,
Heavy.
Emotionally and physically.
but then, they're not heavy emotionally. But you leave them alone. You don't talk to them.
Nope.
You don't.
Never. They collect
That
dust.
sounds cruel, man. I mean,
It's
I
not.
can see why
It's
they're
not
heavy
cruel.
mentally.
They're fine.
They're fine. They're
They're
wonderful.
fine.
And
Okay.
they're my favorite things. Speaking of my favorite things, one of my favorite outdoor trees we have a question on. And I know mimosa, which we're about to talk about, is invasive, but it's just so pretty. I can't help but love it. But someone is asking, can I cut back my mimosa tree and when to do it? They said it's currently very out of control.
That's what they do.
What a shocker!
They grow
I know,
so
right?
fast. It may be the fastest growing tree I've ever seen. Now, their growth really goes this way, like
Yep.
really wide. The common name is an umbrella tree, and there's a reason for that. It gets a very wide canopy, more so than it goes tall. Now, you can get some tall ones as they age, but their growth is really wide. I've got one in my yard as well. It's a beautiful tree, and if you do want to prune it, because a lot of times you do need to, like they can get very large very quickly. Do this during dormancy, so just over the winter time. Whenever you can see all the stems, take any weak stems that are kind of growing towards the interior of the plant. Let's keep those nice outward growing, stems going out, and then just shorten them a little bit.
Shorting them.
Shorting them.
Yeah.
Don't short
and,
them.
and one of the things that they're affected with a lot, which almost necessitates cutting them back severely, if not just removing them, is the crown gall and fungus. They grow like weeds because they essentially
kind of
are weeds. But they're going to make you cut them back at some point because they just grow so fast and get so large. So it's certainly in no way detrimental to remove some of those weaker stems and shortening them all. They're going to flower on the current year wood anyway. So
Yeah,
you
they're
will
kind,
not
they're,
lose.
They're kind of like crepe myrtles in that regard. I mean, you kind of treat them like
Treat 'em
crepe
kind of the
myrtles.
same.
You know.
I had a natural prune on my mimosa this year because they grow so fast. Their stems can be a little bit weak. This goes with pretty much every fast growing tree. And we had a wind event one day that took a limb. I mean,
Oh, my gosh.
big old limb. Laid it down.
Were you mad at it?
I mean, kinda. It was annoying. Yes. It was a perfect, beautiful tree, and then a massive limb just broke off.
Was this
of it.
the same event early March that blew off?
No,
over
this was
half of our-
later. This was
Okay.
later. This was during
Okay.
the growing season. It had foliage, so whenever it has foliage, obviously it catches more wind.
Correct.
And that's what took it. And it was a big limb. My wife called me. And she's like, "Hey, our mimosa trees lost a limb," and I'm like, "Oh, great!" So
Oh,
I came
no.
home. Yeah, it was just laid down. I threw it in the
Okay.
woods.
Yeah, nature did some pruning.
It
for
did
you.
natural pruning.
Nature did natural, taking my chocolate weeping mimosa back to just the straight species. So now I just have a
Aw.
Yeah.
That's the downside of having a grafted
correct.
plant such as they are, that it froze down to and below the graft, but it didn't freeze the rootstock out.
No, it didn't. And you know what? It grew
How big is it?
probably. So it was December that took it down. It came back from the rootstock, so pretty much from the ground. And I would say it's at least 9 feet tall.
9 feet.
In a year.
Is that real?
That is real.
All right, we need to.
Okay,
Well,
maybe 8. I don't know.
Say we're taking Caroline's height
advice
here. And
What are you trying to say right now?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
when you're Caroline's height, there's really no difference between 8 and 9 feet.
That's
It's
very
all
true.
way up there.
True. Very true.
Okay,
That's
that's
even
true.
really
but
true for me.
I will be taking a picture of
Yes,
it tonight
we
and
need a
sending
pic.
it to all of you. And hopefully it's much taller than I am. It is taller than I am. Listen,
probably like 5
you
feet.
said, they kind of grow out like this, and there's about 5 stems that have come out from the ground. They're all growing like it is totally 9 feet.
Yes.
I'm going to prove all y'all wrong.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're going to
Okay.
bring that
All
picture
right.
up on the show next week, and you're all going to have to apologize to me. And I will be waiting. All right, let's talk about cherry trees. So we have a question that asks, my cherry tree lost all of its leaves recently. Is it dead?
No.
No.
Good.
Far from dead.
They do this all the time.
Every year, pretty much every year. You know what's funny, though?
What?
I pass this house going home every day or coming to work every day. Either way, there's 3 cherry trees planted in the yard. 2 of them, I mean, these are like mature cherry trees. Like they're nice. I see them bloom in the spring. 2 of them totally leafless. No leaves whatsoever. And then the other one next to it is like, probably still has like 70% of its leaves. And I'm like, why?
It's an unusual
difference?
phenomenon.
It is.
You know,
They look
and
like
it
the
could-
same tree.
They don't necessarily have to be different varieties of cherries. They just are different individuals. And
Exactly.
I've got a Mount Fuji in my side yard that it's not unusual for it to be totally barren of foliage by the 1st of August. Now this year it hung on till about the middle of August, maybe a little later. But it always drops extremely early, and there's others around my neighborhood that really hold on through the fall. So I think it's an individual characteristic that
is.
is exhibited by every different cherry, and it's what its cycle is for going into dormancy. It's not an indication there's anything wrong with it. It's just the way that it is.
I wonder if it has something to do with just the climatic conditions here, where it's so humid and hot for so long in the summer. They just like, you know what, we're done.
Yeah.
We can only take so much.
Yeah, they
you know?
just shut down, but they've got very prominent buds for next season, so
Oh,
you can
sure.
always look along the stems and see the buds. They're real juicy. They're good looking. They're like red-ish, and if you see that, then you're plenty good for next season.
Yeah.
They're going to
Yeah.
bloom. It's going to be great.
It's going to be wonderful and beautiful. It's always so nice when they're in bloom.
Oh, they're some of the best.
They are. Seeing like a line of those planted when they're all in bloom is just breathtaking. I wish they lasted a little bit longer, but to me, that's a sign that, spring is here. Summer's on its way. It's going to get real hot.
Hey,
Hey, Tyler.
hi. Good morning.
Hi.
Kim Bradley on the Bates Facebook page.
What's up, Kim?
Is saying good
Morning.
morning from Jolton, but also I'm
yeah.
having a terrible time with squirrels in my containers.
Oh, no.
No, red pepper doesn't work. They laugh at crushed red pepper. Help.
The witness
once-
relocation program is
Yes.
what I call it. You need to invest, Kim, in a couple of what's
Traps.
commonly referred to as a have-a-heart trap. And they are a humane trap that allows you to, has a spring-loaded door on it that you open up, and that door is actuated by the depressing of a trigger that's in the back of it that you have put food on. Now, for squirrels, a dab of peanut butter and maybe a couple of sunflower seeds works perfectly. They can't resist going in there. And as soon as they touch, if you set the trap right, and you need to really set it on the what I call the hair trigger setting, where that when it's just barely touched, because squirrels are light. So if you set it where it's a real hard release, sometimes they can get in and get out. But set that in there, you'll catch it. And then you can do the witness relocation program, which is in an approved location. You can take that squirrel elsewhere.
Gardening Inside Out is brought to you by Earth Mix Garden Products, creating regionally sourced high-quality soil blends and amendments for the sustainable-minded gardener. Fall and winter are great times to plant in the Southeast, and Earth Mix can help you with Landscape Soil Conditioner. Mix landscape with your native soil to feed all winter long. Added mycorrhizal fungi help your plants get established faster and increase hardiness through the year ahead. Visit earthmix.net for more information and retailers near you. Remember, success begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products.
Adam's method of adding supernatural seasonally to top your beds off and work that in has worked really well. And I did
It's a
that
great
just
thing.
2 weeks ago to get my fall little veggies planted.
I did too. Yep.
It's a winning.
I don't think there's
combination.
anything better you can do because, earth mix products are not sold as a fertilizer. However, your plants don't know that.
That is true.
It's a little secret that we don't tell them.
All the roots know in the soil is that, oh, hey, there's some copper. Ooh.
Ooh, that was fun. Okay. Let's talk about viburnum. So we have a viewer that's asking, are viburnums pretty easy to grow? I need to hide pool equipment and it's shady and wet.
Ooh, shady and I mean, I was gonna be like, yes, viburnum's super easy to grow, and it is, but shady and wet.
That's
it
a
wet
combo right there.
all the time? Shady and wet is the hardest scenario for us. It's tricky. There's not a lot of plants that really like that, but
No.
I mean, viburnum is one of the hardiest plants you can grow. Certainly, like across the board, almost every viburnum is very easy to grow. Now, if it's sitting wet all the time, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, if it drains,
Yeah.
if it gets wet and then it drains, like viburnum would probably be fine with that. But if it stays wet all the time, you might see issues.
And here's the other thing. He's saying pool equipment, which clearly means it's pool water, which means it has chlorine in it
Or salt.
or salt. If it's so whatever you're planting there is going to have to be extremely tough. So
I mean,
I would say it's very hard.
what about IT? Maybe Itea. would
Maybe
be the
IT,
way.
but
I think
but
would
it's
be
not
the-
evergreen.
No, it's not evergreen. It's got
So-
great fall color.
Yeah.
And it has
Well, that's
great,
something.
like, late spring blooms.
Maybe spirea.
Spirea could probably handle
Yeah.
that. They wouldn't
But
want the shade on them. I don't know how shady it is. Ugh. Shady and
I've
wet
seen
is so tough.
I've seen the older varieties grow
Oh,
in
yeah.
the shade.
The Van Hoodia.
Van Hoody's,
Yeah,
it can grow in the shade.
bridal
so.
wreath spirea,
Yeah.
the big white ones you see in
Yeah.
the early spring. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
probably handle that. And honestly, maybe viburnum would handle that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a very hardy shrub. So
I would go with more of the native ones though, like arrowwood or something
Arrowwood,
like
yeah.
that.
What about Fothergilla? Would that work?
maybe.
I mean, it's still.
I don't
not
think it would
evergreen,
like
but-
the wet.
I know the wet is the
Conditions.
tricky part.
I gotta say, I have a Fothergilla row of them, and I had a window unit installed in my window right above the row, and the one that's doing best is the one that gets all of the water draining.
That's because you don't water any of your stuff, Caroline.
But it stays wet. It's constantly dripping, and that area just holds water. And the one on the upside of the hill, because it's at a slope, because I don't water, was struggling and was not looking great the last time I looked at it. So it can
Yeah.
get a little bit of wet
Maybe
feet.
it would work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine's planted right next to my AC drain outlet.
And it, yeah.
Yeah, and
just
it's
wild.
it's taking it.
Yeah, Fothergilla does. It's totally okay with a little bit of wetness.
I mean, are there any grasses? I know Korean featherweed glasses. Grass likes
Easy
a
for you
little
to
bit of
say.
shade or can tolerate some shade, but I don't know if it can tolerate wet feet though.
Oh, they can tolerate wet feet.
And
I
it might
like-
not be that shaded. Some people think they
Sedges.
don't have a lot of sun, but they do.
Yeah, sedges would work, but I don't think they get tall enough to hide
To
anything.
hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack on the Bates Facebook page, thank you for tuning in and asking your question. I propagated some hydrangeas and some hosta. Should I leave them potted till spring?
Yeah. I mean, you don't necessarily have to. Both of those very, very hardy plants, hosta especially. I mean,
It just go tuck in like a turtle, sleep.
yeah. I mean,
Tuck in like a turtle.
probably.
Turtle.
I mean, either way,
disappears.
either way, like in a pot or in the ground, I think you're going to have success with them coming back next year. So, I mean, if it's easier for you to keep them in a pot and like keep them in your shed or something, or really just keep them anywhere and plant them in the spring, that's totally fine. But if you want to go ahead and get them in the dirt, put them in the dirt.
I would do the hosta now.
Yeah. I
That's
do the
my-
hydrangea too.
that's
I
my
wonder what
2
kind of
cents.
hydrangea it is, but either way, I mean, the thing you have to worry about with hydrangea is if next spring it leaves out early and then we get a late frost,
Yep.
you need to worry about that. So if you were, like Caroline said, if you were going to plant one over the other, probably hosta this time of year, and then wait for hydrangea, wait till, last frost next year, and then after that plant it in
Which
the
is
dirt.
not April 15th, by the way.
No, hardly ever.
No,
Usually,
definitely not.
Usually more towards May 1st, usually.
Towards Mother's Day,
Seems
that's
like
my
it.
go-to.
Seems like every year we have a stupid late frost. That's annoying.
Well,
That's-
and we had
Makes you mad.
we've had
Yes.
2 early frost here at the nursery. Now, not everybody has gotten those, but we've had
Yes, last
2
weekend. Yeah.
One pretty significant one, but they were both still frosts. We have our special frost detectors called, well, it's the Green Room Studio roof right up here. And it never lies. But
Never lies.
But it does freeze.
it does.
It does. I'm not ready for cold. Hey, Tyler, you look like you had something to say.
No, I didn't.
But maybe it's time to push a button.
Yeah, because it's
Hey, but
with Austin.
Hi. What's blooming?
What is blooming,
The
Austin?
same stuff.
The pretty,
But you know what we should talk about though is the leaves are turning.
I know. I was going to get to that at the end of this, and yes, I'll start with it. Fall color's happening. Things are happening. Dogwoods
Sugar maples are
pretty
looking awesome right now.
Sugar maples
Yeah.
showing off. Yeah, there's a lot of fall color going on. There is some bloom still happening. Shout out to you, Adam. I know this is one of your favorite plants. Is Abelia.
Indeed.
The Abelia.
Indeed.
Such a hardy shrub. And they are still blooming big time. If you feel like you need to cut your Abelia, cut it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't care.
It doesn't care. It's one of the hardiest shrubs you can buy. Okay, hey, how about all those grasses that are going? And also monkey grass and mondo grass. Look, right up front here, we got a little mondo grass showing off a little bloom. You don't think about them too much, but they do bloom. They're, monkey grass is not really a grass at all. It just kind of looks like
you
one.
Really?
you might need a magnifying glass
Yeah.
to spot the flowers. But yes.
So your monkey grass is probably actually almost finished blooming and throwing some seed. There was little blue, seed heads. So that's kind of cool. Hey, dahlias. Melissa, shout out, who grows dahlias here. She's got some beauty. She made an arrangement for Anne the other day with some massive dahlias that were just fantastic. And they are still going strong at her
They
house.
were stunning.
Oh, they're great. The fall blooming anemone, still going. The windflower. God, I love that one. Such a great plant. You can divide it from root divisions, which is kind of cool, but really, really easy plant. Hey, you know what you're seeing that's white and small and dainty and cute? All over the place right now.
What?
Wild asters.
Yeah,
The
I've
white
got 'em in my
wild
house.
aster.
Yeah,
oh my God. They're
I've got 'em-
everywhere.
I've got them around the base of my clump of trees in the side yard. It's all the way around. Just
Oh,
full
they're
bloom.
everywhere. I mean, they
Yeah.
make shrubs, but they are in full show right now. So if you're seeing that just like shrubby
Scrubby
things that
Yeah.
are blooming white right now, that's what you're seeing. It's the wild asters that we have here.
And you
then
got to
some
be
of the-
careful when you're talking about wild asters and not say wild ass.
Uh-huh. Yes. We gotta be
Yeah, you gotta
careful.
watch it.
Uh-huh. And then celosia, y'all, is still fantastic. What an excellent annual plant with dark foliage. Some of them anyway. Really dark foliage, beautiful plumes.
Bloom plume.
Yes. That's where I'm going with that. Celosia's fantastic. And then also your pansies and your mums still popping off. Just starting to pop
Just
off. So if
starting.
you ain't got pansies yet, y'all get them. And we brought these white pansies in. Y'all get your colors for sure. Get your pinks, get your reds, get your yellows, whatever. But you got to throw some pure white in there. Changes the
Clock
game.
is running on pansies and violas, by the way.
It is. You
Yes.
better get it. We got the best selection we're going to have probably all year right now.
Oh, it's full
Yep.
in there. Hey,
So full.
Austin.
What?
Aren't you about to plant some pansies?
Yes, I need to.
You need to. And what color are you going with?
I'm going to go a raspberry sorbet color.
Oh,
Yeah.
very specific.
Oh, yeah. Fancy.
You're
that
so
maybe with some
fancy.
purple and then also some pure white. Got to.
Yeah.
Underneath
You'll have
my
to take-
ginkgo tree.
I was just about to say, you'll have to bring a photo in because you also put tulips under them, don't you? In the
I did
ground.
last year, but last year was a horrible tulip year.
Oh, he sounds mad about
I'm very
that.
mad about it. Me and Melissa both are mad about it. She planted a ton of tulips last year. None of hers did great either. We didn't get cold enough. I know we had like 3 or 4 days of extreme cold last winter, but our winter last year was really pretty mild, like through the whole winter. So tulips did not have the chill requirements that they needed to bloom. So everybody that grows tulips last year was really annoyed, me included.
We've mentioned Melissa's name 3 times in this little segment.
Does that
and
mean we
it's worth
sunburn her
mentioning
like
yet
Beetlejuice?
again because Melissa is coming up on her last week of employment.
Oh,
at
yeah.
Bates Nursery. You know, she had the nerve to only give me 4 months
Of notice.
The nerve.
How dare her?
Months. Melissa is one of the treasures. We've been so fortunate to have her a part of our team here at Bates Nursery. She's an incredibly talented individual. She's going out on her own, and when you see some of the creations she comes up with, you won't wonder why. She's got a lot going on. She is a incredible individual. We're thrilled to know her, and we wish her well in her endeavors going forward. So thank you, Melissa.
Yes,
If you get
thank
out
you,
this
Melissa.
next week, make sure to say hello to her. She's she's a lady worth getting to know.
Yes, she is. And worth giving her a follow. So her Instagram handle,
Yep.
she does fresh cut flowers that she grows herself. And her Instagram handle is, I believe, Melmac Florals, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
MELMAC Florals.
Yep.
Correct.
So you can hire her. You can buy arrangements from her. I know she sets up, I think there's a farmer's market in Brentwood.
Yeah.
And she does set up there weekly or whenever the farmer's market does happen. But yeah, very talented. I mean, Austin talked about her dahlias. Absolutely gorgeous, stunning. I mean, it takes a lot of work to keep these flowers coming. And she is always out in her beds, which is why she's saying goodbye to us, unfortunately, but just to give more time to that. So give her a follow, like all of her stuff, and have her do some arrangements for you.
She made that arrangement the other day, and there was perfect gladiolus in it. And I had to call her on the radio, and I'm like, Melissa, how you got gladiolus blooming right now? Like, mine have been done for like 2 months. And she's like, well, I staggered my planting. So she waited.
Plant them every 2 weeks.
Yes, like
all
every
summer
2 weeks
long.
she plants new stuff. Like this woman is, I mean, she's diligent
Insane.
about them cut
In an
flowers.
amazing way.
She's great. I've worked with her for the past 7 years that I've worked here at Bates. She was here when I started, and she will be missed.
She will.
Love
And
you.
she also, on that page, does do tips on planting. So she does short reels talking about what she does with her bulbs, how she staggers planting. So also, if you want to learn about growing your own cut flowers, a great, great, wonderful resource for that. So yeah.
Additional support for Gardening Inside Out is brought to you by Bates Nursery and Garden Center, a third-generation nursery located in Nashville, Tennessee, and 20-time recipient for Nashville's Best Garden Center, offering the widest selection of new arrivals for fall, like specimen conifers, Japanese maples, and pansies in nearly every color. Open year-round, minutes from the heart of Nashville in beautiful Whites Creek, Tennessee. Browse their selection online anytime at batesnursery.com. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
We did get a live question in on the At Home Show page from Gina. She is asking, does the Dura Heat River Birch have white bark at some time in its season cycle?
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more like in its age.
Yeah.
Like as they get older, they get that white bark a lot more so than when they're young. When they're young, you don't notice it all that much. And it does exfoliate. The bark peels. Fun fact about birch, if you're ever in a pinch in the woods or something, you need to spark a fire. The birch little paper bark that flakes off of it is like super flammable.
I remember
just have
learning
fun.
that in the
Now,
Smokies
and
from
I'm
a ranger.
curious, is the Dura Heat a white birch cultivar, or is it a river birch cultivar?
It's a river birch cultivar,
Yeah.
but it does peel. It's not like super white. It's not like those birches that
It's
live
like
up
a
north.
tan white.
kind of creamy
ish,
color.
creamy.
Yeah, almost. Yeah,
The light tan.
It's not like the actual white birch that
Which
you're thinking
doesn't
about.
grow here
That doesn't
because
live here.
it's too hot.
Too hot. Yeah. I mean, maybe you can get lucky with one or two, but no, for the most part, Adam's right. They live up north of here. So we sell river birch cultivar and cultivars, and Heritage is one that is probably prized for its best white bark in the river birch world, but Dura Heat's a good variety, hence the name. River birch tends to want to shut down a little bit early here too, kind of like the cherries we were talking about. Like they'll drop their leaves a little bit early. Dura Heat can handle the heat a little bit better.
Well, as the name implies, the common name implies, is river birch,
Yes.
which means that in nature it usually grows next to a river or a creek or some kind of stream. So
Yes.
when you use it as a corner plant,
likely overwater it.
correct. So when you use it as a corner plant on your house somewhere and it starts to defoliate in August, it's because it's not near a river or a stream and it's hot and dry. So
Yeah, and like David said, you can't overwater a river
No.
birch. So on that first season, keep that thing wet. And once it latches in, you won't have to water it anymore after that, typically. Like my mom's got a 40-foot birch in her backyard that's just on a hillside. It's not like it's getting water or anything, but it's living great. So, yeah, river birch, they grow so fast.
Yeah.
They're also so dirty. They drop sticks like you wouldn't believe.
All right, we got a loaded question. Roses, butterfly bush, and Weigelia fall cutting, question mark. How much or wait until spring? So we've got those three, roses, butterfly bush, and Weigelia.
All three are the same.
Yep.
All three are the same. When they go dormant, cut them back. And I do recommend this, especially Weigella and butterfly bush, especially if you have like one of the old school butterfly bushes that get 5-6 feet in a season. Give them a nice hefty cutback. both of those. Roses as well. I mean, roses you can shorten as well. But we're going to wait till dormancy. So they're all still holding on to their leaves right now. Let's give them about a month, and they probably won't have any leaves on them at all. And then anytime during dormancy over the wintertime, let's give them a cutback. All three bloom off new wood, so it's not going to be a big deal if you cut any of them back over the winter. So yeah, I recommend it.
Go ahead and give them a chop coming up soon. What can I plant in a 2-foot bed west facing? My builder left me with that. I'd love color.
How about some fire chief?
Arborvitae. Hey, that's foliage color.
Fire chief.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. How about
It gets what, 2 to 3 foot tall
That's
and wide,
about
something
it.
like that. Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
Should
Yeah.
fit in there.
very good foliage color? If you want flower power, I mean, the Drift Rose series is
Yep.
always nice. They really throw a lot of color through the whole season. Now, it is a rose, so when you plant a rose, you're not just going to set it and forget it, okay? There's some things you got to do, but if you love color,
You're going to shove it and love it.
that's right. Shove it, love it, and deadhead it.
Yes.
That's the big. I saw a picture yesterday. A guest showed me of her neighbor's house that had all these plants that were blooming, and it was a very hard picture for me to see. It was far away. She sneakily went to the yard to take a picture of what these plants were, and she brought it in. I'm like, those are drift roses. That's all they are. Drift roses are blooming like crazy right now. Good little plant to grow if you like a lot of. There's no other shrub, okay, y'all, that blooms as much as dwarf roses do. I mean, they almost continuously throw blooms, but they do take a little bit of work. I mean, I tell you, our rose section, whenever we are out here during the growing season and the plants, the roses all have leaves on them, I would say at least once a month, one of our employees, no matter who it is, will spend a day in the rose section, literally deadheading and pruning once a month at least with all of our shrubs. What you got to do to keep them clean. It's also helpful because roses don't always keep beautiful foliage all the time, okay? They get a lot of black spot. There's a lot of insect injury that happens with roses if you're not spraying and all that. So giving them a good prune will get rid of a lot of those insects and give you new foliage and new blooms. So do it. Do it.
Go ahead.
Just do it.
All right, let's go ahead and do it by answering this question. Easiest climber that is leafy and white for full sun.
Climber, like
climber?
vine?
Yeah.
Vining?
Vining.
Well,
leafy,
I would say
white, full sun.
right now, Sweet Autumn Clematis would be great.
That's a
It's
good
going to be
plant.
blooming right now.
I saw that all over. I think I was in Salem recently. I think that's where I was. And it was everywhere. And it looked absolutely gorgeous. Growing over these little white picket fences around all these spooky witch
That's
houses.
kind of the problem with it
amazing.
also, is that it
Yes.
does grow all
Does,
over.
Goes
yeah,
everywhere.
it takes over.
But he did say, or he or she, I'm not sure, said easiest climber. So
that
It
would
is
be
easy.
easy.
That is pretty easy. I mean, I won't say necessarily easy, but the climbing white iceberg rose,
sure.
y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yep,
would be
yep.
stunning.
Pure, crisp, white. It's fantastic.
Amazing.
They
In
kill
love
me.
with white roses.
I've got a white climbing iceberg.
How is
Beautiful.
it?
It's in bloom right now.
Is it? You need
Yeah.
to take a picture.
Okay.
Okay.
I will.
I didn't know you still had one.
Yeah.
I thought it died.
No, that was the only one that came back from see, that with the iceberg rose is on its own rootstock.
Correct.
It's not grafted.
Yeah. It is
So
a better-
whenever it
yeah.
does come back from the roots, it still comes back true to type.
Right.
So yeah,
Okay.
they're pretty. They're great.
Hey, we got
They are
time for one
gorgeous.
more, or are we done?
We do. I was going to throw one more out there. Is there any advantage to planting violas over pansies?
Only
Boom.
that violas are tougher. They are.
Yep.
Uh,
Cold
Cute
weather
and
will
dainty.
affect them less.
yeah.
Smaller blooms, but tons more of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a good mix of both is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice to have little
so
ones with the
cute.
big ones. But big pansies, it's just hard not. I mean, look at this pure white pansy. It's just hard not to want that.
Austin,
What?
get some help, man.
But
Those white
violas are
flowers.
particularly nice in small containers that you're walking directly beside of, because they don't have that big splash of color like pansies do. You need to be a little bit closer to them. If you're driving by them at 30 miles an hour down the road, you almost won't see them.
Yeah.
If you have
Correct.
violas out there, but pansies are just the opposite. So it has everything to do with where they're being placed, and if you're in a container by the walkway, certainly they're quite showy and lovely and very hardy.
Hey, really quickly, Jill on the Bates Facebook page, best evergreen, not a holly for dry shade.
Plum you.
Plum.
Oh, that
Yes.
one is a great one.
Cephalotaxis.
Yeah.
Those can go dry
or-
for so long.
And they have an upright
Or
version.
Leucothea also would
Leucothea,
work
yep.
too. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
There it is.
Well, and the music means that we've done it for another episode. Adam, thanks for
Yes,
jumping
sir.
in here
My
again
pleasure.
for another week. Josh will be back next week, so we want to. I know everyone is anticipating that return of Josh Carey,
Anticipation.
and as are we. And we want to thank you all for tuning in today. And remember, we're here to answer questions, whether it's plants on the inside or plants on the outside. We're all about gardening here at the At Home Show. So tune in weekly. We're here to help you. Make sure and check out the Gardening Inside Out blog that comes out weekly also as well. So that's here right on YouTube. Thank you much. We'll see you next time around.